I feel like this is what the relationship feels like to me. We have here the chariot, and the chariot, you have these two fish, okay, kind of like going around in circles, and it needs a an outside external force in order to rein and harness this energy so that the two people work at the same goals, work to build something of greater value together, and the two people can start to see that they actually want the same things, but it's just the way in which they express themselves might seem like they're at ideological crossroads with one another. But in fact, when we strip away all the, the veneer, all the excess, we start to realize that two people who are actually very, very similar, and they have the same goals, they have the same destination in mind. It just takes a while to learn this about one another, and it takes a while for the two energies or the opposing energy to kind of like work harmoniously in order to move in the same direction. Okay, so I feel like there was a relationship here, and we have the Eight of Swords. This is kind of like being blindfolded, being in a situation where we're not really sure where things are headed, where we're not really sure which way to go, and we're not really sure how we're going to get there. Operating from a place where we don't have full access to information. We don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. We don't know if the other person is going to be on board with us. We don't know if the other person is going to be on the same page or is like interested in, having the same things. And so I feel like there was a situation that you're dealing with a significant other, and you're starting to kind of like compromise. You're starting to get to a space where you are building something together, okay? Getting big plans laid out and getting them in order so that the two of you can, be together, or the two of you can build something together. So this is a card about collaboration, cooperation, seeing what the other person is thinking and taking into account their emotions, but also their input, working harmoniously together to build something of greater value so that the two of you can move forward with a lot more stability, and working together to build a stable foundation so that both parties feel invested or feel like they are suited for each other, and both parties can feel safe and secure in a relationship. So what I'm seeing here is it took a really long time for you and a significant other to try to work alongside one another and to finally get to the point where you're both on the same page and you're both gliding effortlessly towards, your destiny, towards your future that you want to create with one another. In the past, I feel like there was a situation where one person wants to go and the other person wants to stay. Okay. And I feel like for many of you, this might be like a geographical, like relocation. One person is like really itching for new opportunities, for newness, for like greener pastures, looking to explore. And then the other person, we have the Fool here. This is, I feel more so your energy. Wanting to explore, wanting to see what else is out there, wanting to rush into a situation and ask questions later, or wanting to dive right in and worry about the logistics, on the tail end. So it's like a very kind of like, grab life by the horns, grabbing new opportunities, being very spontaneous, okay? And this is very much about you being passionate with your life, feeling like you want to open yourself up to new opportunities, to new things, to excitement. And then the person that you're dealing with, they could potentially be an earth sign. I have here Knight of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles. And with both of these signs or both of these characters, they don't even need to be an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. They don't even need to be an earth sign. But the energy that they embody, is very much about, calculation. It's about being methodical. It's about assessing a situation, looking at a situation and being very, I want to say, cautious about how they approach it. Okay. So there might have been a new job that was offered to you, and it might come about with a geographical relocation. You might have to move away for the job. You might have to curb your way of life in order to fit this job into your life. You might have to change yourself in some capacity in order to make this work for you. And the other person is like biding their time. They're assessing a situation, their movement, the way in which they go about it is very, very, very slow. And I feel like it brought about some self-doubt within the relationship. It's like, are you in this with me? Are you always going to be this slow? Are you always going to take your time? Are you not trusting my assessment? Are you not trusting that I'm making the right decision? Are you not trusting my, are you not trusting my decision? So I feel like it's not that the other person is not trusting the situation or trusting your assessment or trusting that you have, like you're coming into a situation with like eyes wide open. You know what it entails, and you know there's an element of risk or an element of danger or an element of like surprise even associated with it, but you're okay with that. But I feel like with this person, the way that they are raised and the way that in which they are, in which they function in society, it is all about, moderation. It's all about slow and steady progress. It's all about taking the safer route. It's all about like, doing something that's tried and true rather than going out of their way to be a trailblazer. And I feel like it might have been, there might have been quite a few, discussions, arguments, or even heated debates as a result of the way in which you operate and the way in which they operate. They might feel like you're a little bit impulsive. They might feel like you're looking at things through like a very narrow mind, like frame of mind, where you're only seeing the positive and you're neglecting all the potential pitfalls. But I feel what it is that you have like a boundless amount of optimism, and you're just like, let's just jump right in. If the problems creep up, we'll deal with them. Because, life is meant to be experienced. Life is not meant to be feared and carefully, methodically planned out down to every minute detail. Whereas this person is a planner. They take their time, they like to mull things over, and, the way in which they approach things, they're so slow and risk averse and just, I'm sensing that it's really hard for them to be spontaneous. And I'm also sensing it's also very, very difficult for them to be convinced unless they have the whole package or they know all the information, unless they have the whole story. And so I feel as if there might have been a lot of persuasion or persuading that you're doing with this person, and you're telling them, I see you kind of like talking to them and laying everything on the table, like revealing your cards and being very clear about what your intentions are. And I'm sensing that they feel like it's a little bit risky. They feel like they feel a little bit unsettled. They feel like there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty. And so they might have been very hesitant about giving you a definitive answer. So for example, you're in a relationship with someone and you have this job on the horizon and you're just like, let's move here. Let's do this. It's going to be amazing. And I feel like they might have steered you away and they might have said like, no. And you felt almost as if I was so passionate about it and they just kind of shut me down. Whereas they're looking at it and they're like, the status quo is fine. Where we are and what we're doing here is safe. It's stable. There's progress, there's movement. It might be slow, but we don't need to do, make a major life-changing decision just for the experience, just for the excitement. So I feel like they want to settle down to something that is tried and true while you're looking for more opportunities. You're looking for more fun. You're looking for more, you're looking for something a little bit more. Okay. And so they feel like you might have been a little bit too spontaneous and too impulsive, and they feel like you might, find something interesting and you're going off on your whims, and then 5 months in, you might not, the glamour fades away, or the novelty fades away, and then you might not want to stay there. You might want to jump onto the next thing. And so they're a little bit fearful about leaving unfinished projects. They're a little bit fearful about, leaving, unfinished projects. They're a little bit fearful about leaving unfinished projects. They're a little bit fearful about leaving unfinished projects. They're a little bit fearful about, leaving unfinished projects. They're a little bit fearful about biting off more than they could chew. They're fearful about abandoning things before they see things to fruition. And so they feel like you're a little bit reckless, or they feel like you're a little bit unpredictable. And they feel that you're led and you're kind of like succumbing to that sense of spontaneity, that sense of novelty, that sense of wanting newness, wanting adventure, wanting new opportunities. And they don't feel safe in it, okay? And so while it might be an issue that is, you know, on an ideological basis, two people approach life in a different way, I feel like at the heart of the matter and at the root of it, you're passionately telling them about a course of action you want to take, and you feel like they shut it down. You feel like they're a stick in the mud. You feel like they're a little bit like of like a Debbie Downer, poking holes in your theories, or not taking what you're saying at face value, or undermining you and undermining your judgment. And I feel like, you know, you don't approach situations lightly. You're a fixed sign as well. And what I've mentioned about fixed signs in the past is that when a fixed sign commits to something, they don't do it, you know, half-heartedly. When they say, okay, I'm on board, they are 100% on board. So this is like with relationships. When you commit with your entire being. When you say you're going to be there, you're going to show up on time. When you say you're going to do something, you will follow it through. And so I feel like you know that about yourself, and you have tried to convince the other person of a specific course of action that you have spent so many hours mulling over, contemplating the potential pitfalls, contemplating the potential benefits of taking a specific course of action. And yet, rather than listening to you and trusting your intuition and trusting your judgment, you feel like the other person is just clamping down hard and pretty much, you know, undermining everything that you're telling them. And I just want you to understand, they're operating from a space of stability. They're operating from a space of like where they are. They try to be very, you know, risk avoidant. Okay. That's just their MO. That's the way in which they operate. And so it takes a lot of convincing and persuasion in order to get this person to come on board. And then I also feel, you know, the earth energy is all about practicality. Show them stats, show them results, show them, you know, patterns of what has been done in the past, as well as what the projections are in the future. So show them numbers, show them something concrete if you really want to convince them to come over to your side of doing things. So for example, if you're trying to move to a new city and you're just like coming up with this plan and you're doing the preliminary research about all the great things in this city or with this new job, you want to show them numbers. You want to say, like, for example, did you know that this city has the lowest crime rate? Did you know that this city has the highest, you know, GDP per capita in the entire nation? Or do you know that this area has the most, you know, per capita of like college grads? Like, show them all the things, show them stats, show them numbers and figures about all the things that make this an attractive venture. Okay. So I feel like they want those numbers. They want those stats. They want to be able to trust what you have to say in a practical way, so that they want to know that you put in the work, you put in the effort to investigate, and at the same time that your investigation or your decision is not guided by something that you really want. It's not like an emotional guidance, but rather it's it's also practically guided. Okay. Show them like the property value, show them that how houses could be very affordable, show them all the thriving industries in that new city. And if you are able to convince them of that, they're more willing to go on board or to be on board with you. So I feel as if one person wants to steer direction in the relationship in a specific way, and the other person's really taking their time. And I also feel as well that someone is very like risk adverse. Someone is not willing to take a lot of risks. Somebody who's a afraid of losing it all. Okay, everything that they built up, if you have to relocate, you have to settle down in a different location, they don't want to lose their group of friends. They don't want to lose their community. They don't want to lose like their really well-paying job and the stability associated with that. So there's a lot at stake, I'm sensing, for the other person, more so than you. You're willing to up and go and you know, seek the next exciting venture. But I feel like for this person, there's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more history that they have with staying. There's a lot more emotionally like at stake for them. And so be patient and give them time. And especially if you want to convince them, do it with numbers, do it with stats, do the preliminary research, and, you know, even regurgitating that area of your finding, regurgitating the information, everything that you found out in the process of researching. I feel like it's going to convince them to come over to your point of view, to believe what you have to say, and to also feel like they can trust your assessment. Okay. So that's what I'm feeling here. On the other hand, I do see like there's a burgeoning new relationship, and I feel like you are very, very, very passionate about this person. Okay. What I'm feeling is like this. One person wants to, I feel like it's you, Leos. You're very passionate about another person. And I feel like they're a little bit more aloof. They're a little bit colder. They're not as emotionally expressive, and they are not as affectionate. Okay, fire signs tend to be very lovey-dovey and very affectionate. And of course, you know, we have to feel safe with the other person in order for us to not feel embarrassed or not feel strange or not feel like desperate about expressing how we feel about the other person. But I feel in general, you guys are very emotionally expressive. And I feel like you're dealing with someone and you're not really sure how they feel about you. So we have here the Lovers, and this is a love relationship where there's a lot of chemistry. Okay, there's this is usually to me like an opposites attract type of an energy where two people are just magnetically drawn to one another. There's a lot of passion, there's a lot of chemistry, there's a lot of like desire, and there's also a lot of like wanting the other person, wanting to be with them all the time, wanting to touch them, wanting to hold their hands, wanting to just be with them 24/7. And it denotes to me like a real, like, it denotes to me like the beginning of a love relationship where the two people can't take their hands off each other. And it's a very tangled, it's a very enmeshed, and it's also, I feel like it's new love. It's the beginning stages of a new love relationship. And I feel like you want to see them all the time. You want to be with them all the time. You want to talk to them. You want to text them. You want to go over to their house. You want to really be with this person. And you feel almost like, I'm hearing the word like rapture. And I'm hearing the word rap as well. Like it just feels like overwhelming. Like you want this person all the time. And then I feel like the way in which they behave is sort of like this. We have here the Temperance card, and the Temperance card is somebody that doesn't want to get swept away in their emotions. They're trying to do things, they're trying to moderate their feelings. They're trying to assess a situation through like the lens of moderation, through the need to be objective, through the need to, you know, I don't want this relationship to be all consuming. I don't want to be so enraptured in this relationship that I can't think straight. And it's too new, it's too soon. So, you know, the feelings are going to fade. So I want to take things slow. So I feel like somebody wants to take things slow. And I feel that you want to step on the gas, and I feel honestly, they might be getting a little bit commitment phobic. I feel like they might feel like it's happening too fast and they want to step on the brakes. You want to step on the gas, they want to step on the brakes. And then the way that they are with the Queen of Pentacles, this is somebody that, you know, they love the attention that you give them. Not in a way where they're hogging the attention or, you know, like leading you on, or, you know, just wanting your attention and that's it. but I feel like they find the attention that you give them very pleasing. Does that make sense? Like, so they appreciate the attention that you give them. But at the same time, this is somebody who thinks with their head. Okay. They're very practical. They're also like, they want the tried and true. They're also a little bit more on the conservative end. They also want like stability. So if things are coming at them in a burst of passion, in chemistry, it feels really great. Anybody would appreciate that. But if they're thinking about the long-term trajectory of a relationship, and if everything is just so passionate and just all about infatuation, and it's all about we can't get enough of each other, they don't know if that's all there is to the relationship, and they don't know if, there's anything deeper, and they don't know how that's going to stand the test of time. And they need to know that something has longevity, has long-term viability before they can really invest. And so I feel like, not that they don't like you, I feel like they're holding back their heart and their feelings because they're trying to look at this situation objectively. Okay. So this is somebody who's like, wow, the attention that you're giving me is really, really great, but I just need to look at this or filter this information through a practical lens before I can, before I can make sense of it, before I can reciprocate, before I know where we stand with each other. And so I feel like they're pumping on the brakes, and you want to press on the gas pedal, and you want things to move forward.